Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
We begin the 7 o'clock hour on breaking news from Detroit's east side of this massive fire burning in the area of Jefferson and Connor on Detroit's east side. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. I'm Rhonda Walker.
Good morning. Jason Colthorpe off this morning. I'm Karen Drew. Let's get to this breaking news. Fire started more than 90 minutes ago at a building near the Jefferson Assembly Plant, but I have to tell you, folks on the scene said they knew there was something going on around 2:30 this morning. This is the very latest. Live pictures from the scene. We are told that this complex by the name of Avitas handles waste products from the auto plant and other nearby businesses, which would contain some type of oil, which then, of course, makes it so much harder to fight.
Repurposing oil, so you can see that has been fueling these flames all morning. Nick Monticelli joins us now live, a safe distance away, but I know that you are smelling and breathing in all of that smoke.
Yeah, in fact, we were a lot closer to this, and the firefighters recommended we take a few steps back to get to this point just because the fire is intense at times and is kind of uncontrolled is the wrong word, but they can't really get a handle on when there's going to be some small explosions because it gets into pockets of oil and other materials that are inside of these tanks behind me here. Mason is the man behind the camera. He's going to zoom in and show you those flames a little bit closer. This facility is called Avitas. One of their purposes is recycling and repurposing used oil, mainly from the big three, from the automakers that are in this area. Again, it has nothing to do with the Jefferson Assembly Plant, which is right across the street, not far at all, but this fire certainly has been seen for miles with this massive black plume that is shooting into the east side sky here in Detroit. Speaking of some of the workers, it was about 2:30 this morning when they realized something was off, realized some smoke was coming from a portion of one of the storage facilities, maybe the tank itself. They started initiating their emergency shutdown procedures, called in supervisors. Supervisors did the same thing, trying to get that shutdown procedure going. For whatever reason, and we don't have clarity on that just yet, but for whatever reason, that did not work properly. And then the fire kind of erupted and became what you're seeing right now. This fire has spread from multiple areas to multiple tanks on the property here at Avitas. And again, we don't know exactly what's in all of these tanks. All we know is it is a lot of material that can burn, likely oil, but I'm not going to say for certain because a lot of times you've got other byproducts and other materials used in the recycling process. But yes, they do work with oil, a considerable amount of it, which is exactly why you have a fire like this that firefighters cannot put out because they have a massive amount of fuel. In fact, Mason quickly turned, let's pan right over here. I want to show you right that way. I want to show you a couple of these tanker trucks that are arriving on scene. One is parked, one is driving by us right now. Those are some of those storage tanks, tanker trucks that are hauling some of the materials back and forth from site and back off site. What's inside of them, again, I'm not sure, but their purpose here is to repurpose that oil. So it could be oil, it could be other things they use here as well. Back to the flames over on the other side of the street here. Just to kind of give you a layout of land here, the streets to our immediate left is Edley Street, and then it curves around the complex over there at the office and becomes Lycast. So Lycast is over there. That is closed. Edley Street is right here to my left, your left as well. So this road and Lycast both closed as firefighters work to put out this fire. I did see multiple fire engines leaving this scene with their lights and sirens on. I believe that's because they've got to get to the other side of this building and start to work on some flames that are happening on that side. We're going to send a crew over there and see if that is in fact the case. But one other thing to point out, one firefighter was injured in this fire, but it sounds like their injuries are not serious, already in stable condition at a hospital, and they are going to be okay. Karen and Rhonda, we're going to keep monitoring this to see how long it takes for this fire to kind of put itself out, because as we mentioned a couple of times here, you can't put a fire like this out with so much fuel. You have to wait for it to burn itself out.
Nick, can I ask you just in terms about breathing that air?
Yeah.
Obviously, when the call came in, I'm looking at the run sheet. We got the call at 5:05 this morning, but it was listed as there's hazmat in there, but they also said it was safe to enter the building. So I'm just trying to understand from our perspective, what does it like to feel like to breathe that air out
and the
there?
air quality for anybody that does live in the area. I know it's not close to a neighborhood, but still that smoke has been billowing in the air for hours now.
Yeah, I would suggest anybody who lives, west of this fire, maybe keep those windows closed. I know it's difficult on hot days if you don't have air conditioning, but I do want to point out that we are kind of in a challenge right now because a lot of times when you don't have any kind of wind, that smoke plume will go straight up into the clouds. Not the case here. You can see exactly where that fire is and how it just kind of peels off and doesn't get much altitude to it and just kind of billowing over into the other areas. But again, this is not a residential area, which is good, and it does start to dissipate the further away it gets here. But yes, that is going to be a concern for the immediate east side area here near Jefferson and Conner. Much further than that, I don't know if that's going to be a concern because it does appear to be dissipating the further away it gets. And you can actually see that. You can see how dark black it is right at the fire source itself, and similarly as it goes up, but the further west it goes, the lighter it gets, which is a good thing because the lighter it gets means that it's dissipating and means that it won't be too harmful once it gets over to those residential areas.
I was doing a quick research in terms of any kind of violations through the Eagle, which monitors buildings like this. I found 3 violations in the past 5 years, 2 in 20, 1 in 2022, Nick. But it looks like they're just mostly mentioning odor. They're not saying any other kind of violations in terms of storage. And that's what a lot of times folks ask about in terms of when you have these materials, are they stored correctly? I know we're really early into this. The fire is burning, but obviously you just always want to check to see if there was any other violations. Are you hearing anything from the folks that you're talking to on the ground just in terms of any other concerns that they may have in terms of this facility?
I haven't. The only concern that I've heard is that there was some frustration that the shutdown emergency procedures didn't work the way they were supposed to. I think that's going to be a huge part of not only the investigation moving forward from the fire department side, but from the public's perspective too. Why didn't that work? Why do we have this massive fire when there are safeguards in place to prevent things like this? Obviously, life isn't perfect, things happen, but there's going to be questions about that. And you're absolutely right, Karen, too, questioning the storage tanks and their safety and if they work. Those will all be things that I'm sure not only, again, the fire marshal, but the state is going to be out here, both Eagle and OSHA, I'm sure will be a part of this to see what happened, what went wrong, and what needs to be done in the future to prevent things like this as well.
All right. Well, Nick, we're going to take a quick break with you, let you gather more information and monitor the scene there, and check back with you this hour.